Hey healers! Hershey Neri here. At aaminin ko sa inyo, the past few days have been very difficult. Minsan, magigising na lang ako, mugto-mugto yung mata ko. Para talaga akong heartbroken. Mas masakit pa to sa breakup. And I know I'm not alone because I see a lot of people on social media sharing the same feelings I have right now. Marami sa atin galit. Marami inis, malungkot. Yung iba tulad ko, tulala lang, tas bigla na lang iiyak. All of this have been happening after the elections, and I just know that I wanted to make an episode where we can talk about this. Hindi tayo nag-iisa, madami tayo. Which is why I've invited someone today to help us navigate our emotions. As some of you may know, I am taking my master's in counseling psychology at the Ateneo de Manila University, and one of my subjects this semester is mindfulness. Yung prof namin doon is no other than Father Jordy Orbe, at binigyan niya talaga kami ng time and space to cry and grieve together. Our class was a 3-hour class, and for 1 hour, hinayaan niya kaming umiyak. Imagine for 1 whole hour, naka-on yung Zoom cameras namin. Uhog-uhog talaga ako nun. Grabe, iyak-iyak ako nun. And ang sarap lang nung feeling na kasama mo yung mga tao, tas iisa kayo ng emosyon, iisa kayo ng nararamdaman, at nagkakaintindihan kayo. And I'll always be grateful to Father for giving us that time and that space to be vulnerable and to be human. He was so empathetic, so kind. Father Jordy really helped me and my classmates with our grief, which is why I invited him here today kasi alam ko makakatulong din siya sa inyo. So without further ado, please help me welcome one of my professors. He is an assistant professor of Psycho-Spiritual Foundation at the Ateneo de Manila University. He took his Bachelor of Arts in Communication in the University of the Philippines, his Master of Arts in Psychology in the Ateneo, his Master of Science in Clinical Psychology in Loyola University, Maryland, his Health Psychology Doctoral Intern in the University of San Francisco Counseling and Psychological Services, and his Doctorate in Clinical Psychology in the Loyola University, Maryland. He also ranked top 6 in the 2022 licensure exam for psychologists in the Philippines. Sobrang proud kami dito. Kami na classmates kami, Viber chat kami. Oh my gosh, si Father, top 6. Ang galing. Siya na. So anyway, please help me give a warm welcome to Father Jordy. Hi, Father!
Hello, maraming salamat, Hershey. Hello din sa mga viewers mo, and thank you very much for this opportunity to be with you today.
Thank you so much, Father. I know you're very busy, and sobrang na-appreciate po namin yung time na to at yung safe space na to. So, Father, my first question po is, ano po ba yung nararamdaman namin na ito? Bakit po ba ang bigat ng loob namin? Natin.
Kaya nung nag-imbita ka sa akin, talagang gusto kong mag-alaan din ng panahon to be with you and to share this experience and to help people navigate through this time. Kasi totoo yung sinabi mo na parang kakaiba, no, na we're grieving on such a collective level, na parang namatayan, parang na-break up, parang ganun, halo-halong emotions yung nararamdaman. No? And I think part of the reason why that is so is because we invested so much in this campaign and in this election. So many people are first-time voters. So many people who have not been politically involved. Parang nagkaroon bigla ng interest at very strong engagement. No? So parang ang taas-taas ng level of hope, of expectation, of engagement. Tapos parang it seems like ang bilis din na shatter yung hope na yun. Kaya yung parang people are really left feeling lost and confused. Siguro yun yung isang malaking dahilan doon na parang taas-taas ng pag-asa, tapos biglang ang bilis ng pagbagsak. Normal lang yun na ganun yung pakiramdam. At mahalaga na malaman, tulad ng sinabi mo, hindi sila nag-iisa, hindi sila weird, hindi sila nasisiraan ng bait, no? And it's also a reality na, especially in this particular election, parang divisions are very clear. And unfortunately, yung division na yun can even occur within families or within friend groups, within institutions. People who are on one side may be very vocal and kind of strong, and people who are on yung mga hindi pinalad, parang nararamdaman nila at naririnig nila yung sinasabi ng kabila. So talagang napaka-intense ng emotion na nararamdaman at this time.
Yes, Father, I completely agree po yung sa sinabi ninyo na a lot of people, first time po nag-invest sa elections ng ganito. I've been voting ever since I turned 18. Pero ngayon lang po ako yung sobrang nag-volunteer, nag-house to house. And I've been seeing a lot of my friends and their stories. Iba sa kanila, first time mag-register para lang makaboto dito. Kaya kakaiba din yung investment. And I think din po kasi, it's also the first time I myself, yung nakakita po ng leader na naniniwala talaga ako. Magiging front and center yung mga magsasaka, yung mga manggagawa. Kaya ang sakit-sakit po nung natalo po sa elections, ang sakit ng feeling na para saan yung pag-asa kong yun?
Yes, that's exactly what so many have been feeling, or maybe to a certain extent continue to feel, no, na parang napukaw sa ating mga damdamin kasi yung ganong idealism and that kind of hope talaga na tagal nating hindi nakita sa mga leaders natin, and suddenly there is a person who seems to embody and personify these ideals of truthfulness, integrity, care for the poor, hard work, yung gano'n, no? Tapos, hindi pala yun shared by so many other people. At meron din silang ibang nakikita at hindi nila nakikita yung nakikita natin, no?
When you said po that we should create space for these feelings, what do we mean by that?
First of all, to acknowledge how we feel. To acknowledge that hindi ito madaling tanggapin, to acknowledge na mabigat yung loob natin, to name the feelings that we have. That meron kang nabanggit kanina na it's also very common for many, no? Yung parang bigla ka na lang maiiyak.
Yeah.
Na parang may mababasa kang tweet, may mababasa kang post, tapos biglang maiiyak ka. Siguro para sa ibang tao na hindi naman sanay na ganun yung kanilang nararanasan, parang ano bang nangyayari sa akin? So, giving space also means validating that na nangyayari talaga yon, no? Which is a very normal part of grief. Hindi ko alam kung napanood mo din yung speech ni VP Lenny nung Thanksgiving rally. Siya din, sabi niya, bigyan niyo ng panahon at oras yung nararamdaman. At kung kailangan umiyak, umiyak, no? So, to give space for that. That's the first step. Pero hindi tayo titigil doon. Pero mahalagang gawin yon.
I like what you said po about normal lang umiyak, normal lang. Kasi for a lot of people then, they don't understand na ba't nga ba ako umiiyak? And ang ganda po nung sinabi ninyo na to label it, to name it. And it makes so much sense that it's so important to label and identify what we're feeling. Parang isa nga po sa lessons namin lagi sa class, yung there's a monster in the dark and when you name it, at least you know who you're fighting. Gusto ko din i-add na grabe po, lagi po akong umiiyak pag may naririnig ko lang yung Rosas na kanta. Sabi ko, kahit ano siguro ilagay mo sa music na yun, no? Kahit hindi naman random video, tas kulay rosas, nakakaiyak na naman. And anyway, tumatawa po ako pero malangkot po ako. Coping mechanism ko yun. So, di ba po ang weird po ng grief? Kasi parang, hindi mo alam, minsan natatawa ka, minsan naiiyak ka, minsan galit. So, siguro, another one of my question, Father, is, paano po namin mananavigate itong, yung iba anger yung nafe-feel, iba inis, galit. Ano po yung healthy way to navigate that?
Magandang tanong yan kasi is mahalaga din yan, especially during this time. Kasi yung reaction pagkatapos nung parang we lost, no? So parang confusion, sadness, frustration, at kasama din dito yung anger. Ang dami nating binuhos, ang dami nating ginawa. Ang gusto lang naman natin mapabuti yung buhay ng buong sambayan ng Pilipino na parang hindi pinahalagahan. They don't value what we're doing. So there's a lot of anger there. Mahalaga ding pangalanan yan at i-channel. Kasi ang mga pwedeng mangyari kasi doon is dahil sa tindi ng galit, parang ayoko na to. I will just give up. And then that will turn into apathy. Yung parang ayoko na makialam, bahala na kayo sa buhay niyo. Mahalagang i-channel itong anger into something creative and productive. Ang isa din kasing napaka-unique nitong campaign na to is it awaken people's creativity and generosity. Di ba? To navigate the anger is to use that energy, that same creativity and passion towards something good.
Ang ganda po nun, Father. Gusto ko lang po i-share. Yung nanay ko po, senior citizen siya. She's 68 years old and she attended the rally from 4 a.m., yung prayer walk, hanggang 12 midnight. So, more than 12 hours na dun sila sa rally. Talo pa po nila ako. Sabi ko, bakit maginawa yun, ma? Kasi masakit yung likod niya, mas may arthritis siya. Sabi niya, kasi pinaglaban namin nung people power. Bakit hindi namin, if she was their people power 1, people power 2. So, bakit hindi tayo lalaban ngayon? That's, yung sinabi na lang na ng dad ko is, kakaiba daw talaga yung rally na to nung kay Lenny and Kiko because it was fueled by so much love na na-touch sila. Yung mga bata daw namimigay ng sandwich na cheese pimiento, na may namimigay ng tubig, ng snacks, nagpapahiraman ng power bank, na for once nakita ko na posible pala to na nag-share, na may bayanihan. Emotional ako lagi pag naaalala ko yun kasi ang ganda. Yun yung hinahawakan ko na na-witness ko yun. Ang ganda po ng bayanihan na yun. And maybe one thing that scares me is after this, where will it go? Naiyak ako. Woo! After this, where will it go? And when you said the word apathy, yun po yung pinaka natatakot ako. Na all this love, we have all this love, and it turns into apathy. All this hope, and it turns into apathy. And yun po yung nakakatakot. Yeah. Akala ko ready ako for this episode. O, diba, Grace?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Tama talaga yun. And ito yung time na very crucial. Yeah. Na habang nandyan pa yung emotion, that we know how to capture it and channel it.
Yeah.
No? Kasi if you allow time and nothing, it's not being attended to, hindi siya pinapansin, mababaliwala siya. So if you're going to give into that, then it will really go into apathy. Parang wala ka na lang pakialam. You just be numb. Sayang. Sayang yun.
Sayang. Kaya napaka-hopeful po nung Angat Buhay Foundation na at least now, ay, yung energy natin may mapupuntahan pa and it's exciting. Speaking of moving forward, no, ngayon po, nakikita ko marami sa atin nagdo-doom scrolling online, social media. Mas nalulungkot ka pa sa nakikita mo sa pag-scroll. Can you explain this phenomenon happening right now?
Kasi social media naman talaga is programmed to hook us and kind of keep on scrolling, no? Nakakadagdag sa takot at pangamba. Pero it's like you can't look away. Parang ganun. Na parang tuloy pa rin yung pag-scroll mo. So, mahalaga din na matutunan natin how to stop and take a step back. Bago ka pumunta dun sa future na negative outcome, dito ka muna sa present. Ano ba nangyayari ngayon? Because it's not helpful to jump to the conclusion na, oh no, things will really be very bad or patay na tayo lahat. Wala pa namang parang martial law na ulit. Hindi pa naman nangyayari yung mga gano'n, no? Ang isa pang mahalagang isipin or tandaan is yung iwasan yung tendency to catastrophize. Because it's not helpful to jump to the conclusion. Our minds can go there and imagine very negative outcomes at hindi yun nakakatulong sa nararamdaman natin.
Actually nga po, Father, ever since I took yung mga counseling classes, mindfulness, it was really helpful, practical tips po siya because, you know, as people, it's normal for us to think of several outcomes. And siguro, di ba, part na rin yun ng survival natin eh. Na, okay, pag nag-martial law, ito yung gagawin. O pag ito yung gagawin. So, it's very normal. And it's very valid to think of those kasi alam natin na there's that reality, there's that possible outcome, and we've seen it in history and it can happen again, and it's normal to think of that. But also one thing that can help us stay in the moment is what is happening right now.
Again, normalizing the tendency to want to be prepared for the worst possible outcome. So grounding yourself in the present will also balance it out. Merong quote dun sa Frozen, Disney reference. Sabi ng Troll King talaga. yung sabi niya na, when you cannot see the future, you can only do the next right thing.
Ang ganda, and I like how it's very small, bite-sized things you can do at the moment. Because I understand how right now it's a natural response for us to think big. But right now, one of the kindest things you can do is do the next small right thing.
Model natin dito si VP Lenny, no? Parang she really has nerves of steel. Pero the way she models this process for us is yung ginawa niya is, di ba, nag-live siya na parang she was just parang packing all the gifts of the thousands of gifts that were given to her, and then she went to that rally. So yung ganun ba na sometimes the next right thing is just taking a break. It will come in its own time, but know that in order for you to get there, you have all of these other small steps that you need to get through first.
Nakikita ko nga din po, Father, para po siya yung Maslow's hierarchy of needs, no? Bottom need mo muna, physiological needs muna. Safe yung family ko, nakakakain ako ngayon, may water, may shelter, okay. And then, gently, little by little, until makuha natin, okay, safety for the country, and good governance. So, right now, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to rest, but that doesn't mean you stop loving your country. That doesn't mean you stop serving your country. It's just hinga lang muna ngayon because we're all grieving. It's a collective grief.
Yeah. And to expect, like earlier, di ba, yung sabi na emotional na ako, akala ko tapos na ako dito, tapos parang gano'n, no? Also to expect that when you are in the process of grief. At napag-usapan natin to sa klase, yung dual process of grief. Na sometimes kasi we feel na grief is okay, one step, and then you go to the next step, and then you go to the next step, na very linear, na parang dapat progress ka lang na gano'n, dapat over ka na dito sa stage na to. That may be helpful for some, but that's not a very accurate way of looking at grief. Kasi grief is more like a pendulum, no? Na parang loss, restoration, loss and restoration. Na sometimes part of the grief process is talagang damhin lang yung lungkot, or alalahanin lang yung mga nawala, or give yourself time to feel sad, yung ganun, no? At part din sa grief yung, sige, anong pwede nating next step dito? Or break muna ako sa pagluluksa. So, yung parang back and forth na yon, no? And there are times when moments will come na babalik ka dun sa loss. Ang tawag natin dun grief intrusion. Yung parang out of the blue, yung sabi mo nga, makakarinig lang ako ng rosas, maiyak na ako ulit. No? That's a grief intrusion. So to expect that happens, and that's perfectly normal. So mahalaga na i-normalize din natin yung ganong proseso.
I like what you said nga in class po when you discussed the dual model of grief, no? Kasi a lot of us, we're familiar with yung linear approach na okay, denial muna, tapos anger, tapos hindi ko kabisado. Denial, anger, tapos may stages. Bargaining, tapos may acceptance.
Bargaining, depression, acceptance, yes.
Baka po itanong to sa licensure exam. Hindi ko memorize. Ayun, so, yun po yung familiar tayo, diba? Yung ganong stages. So, minsan maki-pressure na, ang tagal na, nasa denial pa rin ako. Ang tagal na, anger pa rin ako, wala pa ako sa acceptance. So, I like this dual model po kasi, kumbaga, it normalizes na it's okay to cry one day and the next day, trabaho naman, or do your requirements for school, or mag-drive sa traffic, and then later on, okay, naiiyak na naman ako. Okay na ako. Okay, naiyak. So, kumbaga, healing isn't really linear, no?
Yes. That's important to again, make space for it. It's not linear, and you are allowed to go back and forth. Parang isip ng mga tao, so ano palang point nun kung pabalik-balik ka lang, no? Like a pendulum, no? The first Parang the earliest times would be the swing would be very extreme. Parang the emotions would be very extreme. Hopefully, over time, the swinging will be less extreme and you're more centered, you're more settled. It may take some time though. It just gets less and less extreme over time.
As the way I see it, a lot of us right now, we're crying, we're hurt. Exactly because there was love in the first place. And because we love our country so much. This grief, it will stay with us. But yun nga, no, yung we can use this grief into action.
To honor the love that is there. At sana yun nga yung mangibabaw at hindi yung anger and hatred. Which is again another danger here. And maybe, hindi pa ba tumalinaw sa isip ko paano kasi ako din, I'm dealing with my own feelings of anger, no, and frustration and fear and sadness. Pero challenge din yun sa atin lahat. If we're going to stay true to the vision that we were so inspired by, it's a very inclusive vision. Sana hindi mauwi sa exclusivity na, o kami, ganito kami. Mabigat na responsibilidad din yun kasi right now, parang minority tayo eh. If we are going to take the election results, we are the minority. We also need to acknowledge that reality. And how do we begin to open up more and more na, oo, kahit na minority kami at hindi nyo nakikita yung nakikita namin, we will fight for what we value, pero we will not make them the enemy. Now is not the time to think about that. Pero sana kasama din yun sa pag-iisipan natin, no, na how to still be inclusive in our vision.
A lot of us, for example, meron po akong mga extended family members na nag-vote sa other person na may hurt na akala ko ba we would share the same values, tas hindi pala. Tas nakaka-hurt siya. Yung family dynamics, nag-iba pa. Tas nakikita ko yung mga ibang post, hindi na radical magmahal, radical manampal. yung mga gano'n na, okay, funny siya as memes. But at the same time, no, it's so hard. Kasi valid din po yung feelings na yun, yung anger, betrayal. Kung gano'n na lang, we've lost the very message of the campaign.
I'm saying this knowing that I am also struggling with it. I was just with some friends last night and parang na-shock na lang kami na, oh, si ganito pala, hindi pala natin ka-share ng views or mga kaklase namin or kabarkada namin dati na hindi pala tayo magkapareho ng nakikita. And it was painful, and at the same time, the tendency would be to unfriend or to block. No? So, challenging talaga yon. At again, maybe now is not the time to think about this yet. Pero sana hindi magsarado yung ating mga puso from that.
Before we end, gusto ko lang din po point out na sometimes then yung akala natin na people yung kalaban, it's actually this misinformation. Kasi po may nakausap po akong relative ko na sobrang kinampan niya, sobrang support po siya sa other party. Tapos nung nag-usap po kami, na-realize ko na hindi niya pala alam yung nangyari ng martial law. Like, nag-usap po kami ng masinsinan and then pinanood ko sa kanya yung Kingmaker. Plug ko lang po, free po ang Kingmaker online. May Filipino translation din po siya. Yung gano'n, na nakuha nila yung information nila sa Facebook or sa TikTok, sa YouTube. So, yung kalaban, sometimes it's not really people, it's actually yung circumstance na a lot of people are misinformed. It's fake news.
And we need to realize that it took years for it to reach this far. Kasi kailan ba nagsimula yung campaign ni VP Leni? When she declared in October? So how many months is that? And kung yun nga yung siguro baka makatulong din ito to put things in perspective. Now, when we started out in October, Marcos was a shoe-in winner. People were expecting, no one would challenge. And yet, since nag-declare siya and how it grew in such a short span of time, and the amount of outpouring of support, that's the miracle here. In 7 months na ganun yung nangyari. So, dapat makita na natin yung perspective against years and years of building yung disinformation system. Talagang very efficient, very well-oiled, very well-funded. At meron talagang objective evidence na ganun yung nangyayari. So, it may also kind of make us see things in perspective, no? Na talagang medyo nahuli tayo doon. Pero pwede pa nating bawiin siya tumabol. Pero wala tayong laban dun sa years versus months.
May nakita nga po akong gumawa ng art card. We saw what happened. We saw what hirap mag-English. Kaya ko to. We saw what could happen in 7 months. Now, let's see what can happen in 6 years together. So, kumbaga, namulat na yung mata natin. Pag namulat na, kasalanan ng pumikit, alam na natin yung gagawin. And siguro for me, when you ask, what's the next right thing? Siguro for me, something doable is to teach my nephews. Emotional ako kasi I really love my nephews and I love the next generation na huwag kalimutan yung kasaysayan ng Pilipinas. And for me, that's the next right thing. Just teach the next generation. Fight disinformation, fight fake news, bit by bit.
Yeah, and the most inspiring thing for me here in this campaign is to see the young really take the lead in so many ways, no? And what you're doing, kaya when you reach out to me to do this, talagang, of course, no? Na there are people like you who will use their platform precisely for this, no? Na parang gamitin your influence, your circles of parang reach and network to really fight for what is true and good. Sana pagpatuloy mo ito and talagang to use your passion for this. Nakita ko yung post mo kay Lenny Bear.
Si Lenny Bear, si Kuya Mike.
Yung mga bagay na yun, no, malaking bagay. Because of people like you who use their platform for this, may chance tayo. No, may chance tayo to present a counter narrative, to really hold on to what is true and what can really be good for our country.
Thank you for that encouragement, Father. And I also want to take this time to honor you din po. Sobrang kami po ng classmates ko, pinag-usapan namin na you were so kind to give us that space to be vulnerable, to debrief. Kasi as I saw with a lot of my friends, back to work po agad yung acting like nothing happened the next day. Para ang hirap po. It's the big elephant in the room na how can we move on na hindi natin na-navigate yung nararamdaman namin. So, I really appreciate that you po, that a professor in a university, a Jesuit priest, yung gano'n, tapos you're gonna give that kindness and space for people to just be human and to allow them to just feel their emotions. So thank you so much, Father, and thank you for always speaking up. Pina-follow ko po yung posts nyo. Follower din niyo po ako, and I admire po how you use your platform for the truth.
I just wanted to plug and also say that for people who need that space, there's a lot of available space, no? Different groups have come out with initiatives to really provide that space for people. So I know Ateneo is doing some things. I know the Robredo People's Council are holding these mga Zoom sessions. The Clergy for Moral Choice is also organizing these Zoom sessions that they can sign up online. So I encourage those who are watching this to reach out and parang really join spaces like this where you can be heard, where you can listen with people, to lighten what you're feeling and to channel all of these emotions to something good. So, talagang look for those spaces and participate. So, yun lang yung gusto kong sabihin.
Yes, I actually saw po may mga psychologists for Lenny.
Yeah, mga ganun.
Provide sila ng group therapy to just grieve and mourn together. Ang galing, ang galing po. Yun nga po, People's Campaign to, a lot of volunteers have been doing their part. So, Father, before we end po, maybe you can share a last message sa ating listeners and viewers right now.
Again, thank you for this and thank you for all of those who are watching right now. And I really appreciate all the efforts that everyone has been doing to support one another, especially with efforts like this online. Now is such a crucial time for us to learn from what we've experienced in the campaign and also to relish the good things that we've experienced during the campaign as we make space for the grief, the sadness, the anger, to channel this to something good. No, na wag hayaan na mauwi sa walang pakialam or to apathy. No, na sundan natin yung example ni VP Lenny, ni Senator Kiko, no, na nasaktan man, pero gagamitin ito para sa kabutihan. So let us follow that example and continue the good that was already started.
Ang ganda po. Thank you so much, Father, for your time. At ako po mismo, feeling ko nagkaroon ako ng second mindfulness class for the week. May po, ang dami ko po natutunan today. Maraming salamat at sa ating viewers right now. Sana nakatulong ito at sabi nga ni Father at ng Disney, let's just do the next right thing. So just allow yourself to be human. But the fight goes on, and this is not the end. It's only the beginning.